All right, now I'm gonna sound like an absolute monster, but listen and hear me out, because no matter what this little guy tells you, do not, and I repeat, do not feed the stray cats on your Greek island getaway. But stick around, because if you do want to help, I have some answers. So let's start our story off right here in this ancient Venetian harbour town of Chania on Greece's largest island of Crete. And if I can be completely honest with you, it's got to be one of my most favourite places in the whole world. Why? Well, I'm sure this story is going to make that abundantly clear. But needless to say, before finally settling down in Germany, I spent 6 weeks living right here on the waterfront, kicking off my expat journey. To that end, I'd had to leave my two wonderful, precious little rescue cats back in America temporarily, as it wouldn't be right to bring them over before I'd properly settled. It was pretty heartbreaking. I mean, I knew I'd see them again pretty soon, but nonetheless, I really missed them. I needn't have been too worried though about being cat deprived, as the moment I stepped into wonderful Old Town Chania, I was inundated with all of the local cats. They were everywhere, chilling by the waterfront, stalking down the jiddies, hanging out with us tourists while we eat. It was wonderfully funny and just all around awesome. And though it didn't fill the hole in my heart, it was an absolute blast seeing so many cool cats. And as my exploration deepened, I started noticing a different side to things. You see, Southern Europe on the whole perceives and carries out animal welfare and control in a very different manner to, say, the USA or UK, which is what I'm used to. Instead of rounding up animal populations to be dealt with elsewhere, often in mass kill shelters like where I rescued my two wonderful little cats, places like Crete opt to let nature run its course, with cats living and dying by their own paws. And both methods have pros and cons. I'm not here to tell you which is better, because ultimately, without enough resources dedicated, well, both end in a lot of death. And sadly from there, my shock just continued to deepen. I'd arrived at the tail end of the year's tourist season, and within only a few weeks, Chania had gone from this incredible, busy, bustling harbour town with barely a chair spare to a ghost town. And it all dawned on me at this very restaurant on a night very much like tonight. You see, the cats that live here, well, they're happy, healthy, and sociable even after all of the tourists have left. However, what about the cats on the alleyway just behind us? Well, that restaurant does close down for the winter season, and the cats that live there, they're not happy, they're not sociable, and they're certainly not healthy. Instead, they're skinny and they're skittish. And so I knew I needed to get stuck in to help out, to feed and socialize these cats. And not knowing any better, I decided to do the namesake of this video, and I fed the cats on my Greek island getaway. And unknowingly, I became part of the problem. And initially, it was really hard to argue with the results. I was becoming incredibly popular with all of the local strays, as they memorized my favorite bars, my midnight walks, and even followed me along to the grocery store. I felt like the king of cats, and that felt pretty great. And it also really seemed like I was just making such a huge difference in all of their lives. They were gaining weight, they were getting less skittish. I mean, that is job done, am I right? And so, like all other transient tourists before me, spurred on by the short-sighted and short-term gains, this is really as far as it went for me in terms of helping out. I didn't do anything else, I didn't think about anything else. Why? Ignorance was bliss. At least that was until, considering time's sense of irony, 24 hours before I needed to be right back here, the airport. We were leaving Greece for good and heading to settle down in Germany. But not wanting to leave without one last hurrah, we decided to go on a little adventure. We found a trio of monasteries out here in the remote Akrotiri Hills. With the highlight being the ruins of Catholiko, an ancient monastery built as a bridge between two ridgelines. It sounded absolutely epic as hell, so off we went. To no one's surprise, all of the monasteries were absolutely brimming with cats. And I must admit, as I explored, well, I did lament that in less than 24 hours, I'd have to say goodbye to all of my new Cretan friends. And things were going pretty smoothly, at least until during that somewhat melancholy moment in this exact spot right here in what used to be a clover field, I heard a pretty loud noise from a little Greek red cat who had something to say. Come here, Clover Kitty. That amazing sound came from an admittedly very rough-looking little kitten. She was off just over there calling out. We called back and she came running and climbed right up Camille's leg, covered in pus and just incredibly dirty. And we made some really uncomfortable jokes about how her mother must be just over there. She's just wandered off. She'll get clean later. She doesn't need any help. The ground's really wet. She's super rambunctious. There are tons of rationalizations for why she is the way she is that mean we don't have to help. Man, I would just love to tell you right now that I saw through that shit, saw the sick kitten as she was begging for help, but I didn't. I believed those rationalizations and I continued walking to the last monastery, leaving her behind. And so while sitting pensively on this very ancient bridge, the Cat King illusion finally shattered and the answers were made clear. I hadn't really been helping any of the cats, had I? No, not really. I mean, maybe in the most micro and individualistic of ways, but in regards to a systemic problem, I was only making it worse. By helping artificially prop up unsustainable amounts of food in their ecosystem, I was exaggerating the natural summer-winter boom and bust cycle into an annual famine, and I'd gotten to witness it firsthand by staying that little bit after tourist season. You see, during the tourist season, we're all participating, we're all adding so much food. But what happens when we leave? Well, I think you get it. I was, and you possibly were too, nothing more than a false Samaritan, with the cat food I carried feeding nothing more than my own ego. You see, feeding a cat here and there, buying a little bit of food from the store, it's cheap, it's easy, and you don't have to think. But actually going out there and saving a cat as it asked me to? Well, for that I just couldn't be bothered. And that doesn't sound like the king of cats to me. So I left the monastery. I felt awful, color draining from the world with the realization of not just what I had been doing, but in my honest hour, who I really was. But past failures only define us when we let them. And so in that moment, I decided to change and to make better choices, ones that I could truly be proud of. So I raced back to the Cloverfield, looking for an undeserved second chance. And luckily, there she was, plodding down this very road behind me in the most aimless of fashions. I suppose if nobody was gonna help her off of this mountain, she was gonna do it herself. But there's no need for that anymore. The king of cats was back, and he was gonna do things right from now on. So I called out to her, scooped her up into Camille's jacket, and we drove off of this mountain together. We had 12 hours until my flight left for Germany. Camille started calling all of the local rescue agencies, and I gave the little kitten a bath. However, it was all bad news. It was the end of tourist season, and everyone was at or over capacity. There was no one who could help. except one woman's name who kept coming up again and again no matter who we asked. Silke Vrobo, they said. She will always be able to help you out. So we gave her a call, and though not pleased by my timeline, she gave me the name of a local vet whom she really trusted, and if we would be willing to provide some medical supplies and some food for the kitten, if and only if the vet said the kitten had a chance, Silke would look after her. We finally had a plan. And so off to the vet we went, and what an amazing guy he was. He spent ages talking with me about animal control, the impact of tourists, and most importantly, what really effective change looks like. And frankly, in such a stressful situation, he brought an incredibly calm and professional presence. Silke has great taste in friends, but when it finally became time to talk about little Rosemary the kitten, yeah, I'd made the mistake of naming her already. The outlook was just not so good. He said the best option for her was simply euthanasia. There was no way, as sick as she was, that she would survive the night. So with the unfortunate news weighing upon us, we waited for Silke. And when she finally arrived, I was blown away. The fiery and sprightly woman, the savior of Chania that I've been speaking to over the phone, was actually an older German woman who has dedicated her storied life to protecting the animals of Chania. She runs her own animal protection agency, Noah's Little Ark, based right here in Chania, and she has saved a truly staggering amount of animals by her own hand. In fact, in 2004, she became the first animal rights activist operating abroad to earn Germany's High Medal of Merit. There are just some people in life, right, that when you meet them, you just can't put them into words. They don't even seem real. And Silke? She is one of those people. She's the real hero of this story, cleaning up the mess made by us tourists. So I relayed the news to Silke, how the outlook for poor Rosemary was not so good, but I wanted to support her anyway. I mean, I was just so inspired by Noah's Little Ark and everything they're doing that I would continue to support them with money, supplies, food, whatever she needed for her other cats. I figured in some ways, if I could support a real hero, that maybe I could atone just a little bit for some of my sins. Silke, however, had other ideas. Little Rosemary had fought far too hard for her second chance for us to just take it away. And so Silke would take her home and make her comfortable. Whatever happened now was going to be in Rosemary's paws, but at least with Silke supporting her. And that is the end of our story, the main part at least anyway, because merely a few hours after handing over Rosemary Sprigs to Silke's more than capable hands, I had to come here, back to the airport. My Greek island getaway was over, and it was finally time to start my new life in Germany, to start this YouTube channel, in fact. And I'd like to say that in all that hustle and bustle, I didn't forget about my little Greek red cat, but she wasn't exactly on the forefront of my mind. That was at least until one fateful and very cold day many months later, after having finally settled down here in Germany, when we received a call from Silke herself, asking us if we would like to say hello to a happy and healthy Rosemary Sprigs. She had made it, and I couldn't believe it. The real question at hand, though, was whether or not we would want to support or adopt her, and there was no doubt in my mind what the king of cats would do. So Camille and I hopped on a plane immediately back to Crete, this time for a very happy reunion. So now let's sum up everything that we've learned. How can you help? Well, number one, for starters, let's not make the problem any worse. Do not feed the stray cats you see walking around. I know a treat here and there, a little bit of scrap doesn't feel like much, but over thousands of tourists, it really adds up. So don't feed them, especially if you're not planning on providing and supporting these animals long after you've gone home. Number two, obviously, donate to the real heroes in your favorite holiday destinations, the animal welfare groups that keep everything running all year round. They need our support. I think it is wonderfully common for us to support our local animal rescue groups at home, and I think it should be just as common to support our favorite holiday destinations too. Links and everything you need, naturally, in the description box below. Number three, if you see a sick or stray animal in need, don't just alert the Facebook groups, don't just send an email to the rescue agent and wipe your hands clean. If you actually care, then be prepared to help support that animal and pay for some vet bills. Let's not just make it other people's problems. Number four, adopt a pet just like I did. If you live in the EU, you are just one signature away from being able to provide a loving forever home to an animal in need. Ever since I did it, I've met tons of people who have gotten their pets this way, but it needs to be more common. Overpopulation exists in these locations right now, and you can do your small part. And I know it might just sound like a drop in the bucket, but if you ask Rosemary, I don't think she'd agree. So there you have it, guys. I hope that you found this interesting, but most importantly, I hope I have inspired you to help out in the right ways. In the description box below, you'll find a variety of links and resources, including Noah's Little Ark and Silke herself, that you can check out and even donate to. I myself will be donating $300 to Silke in honor of this video and little Rosemary Sprigs, as I know 100% of that money will go to the people, systems, and animals in my favorite place in the world. So if you've watched this far, send the video to all of your friends, everyone you know, because the more views that we can get on this video, the more eyes we can get on the problem, the more money we can put in Silke's pockets. Hit the like button if you've liked it, comment below, help boost that algorithm and engagement, and let's try to make things just a little bit better for our furry Cretan friends.